Hi everyone! Today I'm going to do a video on the difference between 3D, 4D and 5D. There's a lot of information out there at the moment on the differences between these dimensions, and so I thought I would just do my take on why they're different, and also maybe just come up with some ideas so that we can work out what dimension we're in at any one time, because we're moving between them all the time in these bridging times, I guess. So the other thing I really wanted to talk about as part of this is that there is a lot of discussion out there at the moment about how there's going to be some grand solar flash or some event that's going to trigger an ascension that kind of permanently moves us into 5D. So I wanted to talk a little bit about why my belief about that and why I don't think it's going to happen exactly as some of the other information out there suggests. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the differences between 3D, 4D and 5D. And I'm going to use the analogy of a movie theatre to try to explain the differences the way that I see them. So in 3D, we are in a movie. We are immersed in this movie. We have no clue that it's a movie because we think it's reality, and we think that there is this one truth, which is this movie that we are in. And we're immersed in it emotionally, mentally. We can't see anything outside of this movie. And the other interesting thing about this movie is that we think that the movie is the cause of everything that happens inside of us. All of our emotions and thoughts come from the movie. The other aspect about the movie is that we also have very strong judgments about this movie. As we're immersed in it, we're judging people or scenarios as good or bad, and that's all we do in this movie is judge. So, as I've just said, in 3D, we're in a movie. We think that the movie is cause. We think there is one truth, and we judge. So these are really my three things to identify that you're in 3D, which is that you think that the movie is doing something to you, you think there is only this movie and no other movie, and there are judgments of things being good or bad. And if you want to see some more information about judgments and duality in 3D, I have another video, so I'll try and put a link up to that as well to explain that a bit better. So before we get to 4D, I'm just going to put in an intermediate step, which is we wake up. So before we actually get into 4D, we start to just think that something's not quite right with the movie. You know, there's just something a little bit weird about it. And basically what happens in this wake up phase is that we start to question the truth. We start to question reality, and we start to question this movie that we're in. So for many people, you know, this questioning of the truth can send you down the truther route, which is questioning everything, you know, from flat earth to New World Order to whatever it is that is something different than the truth in the movie. So that is the first step, is waking up. And when we wake up, it's very hard to go back to sleep and go back into 3D. Some people do, but generally what happens is that the person moves into 4D. So 4D is like an intermediate step, and I'm going to break it down into 3 phases because I think it can be helpful to help us identify where we are in these dimensions. So the first step of 4D is that we're going to liken it to watching the movie. So suddenly you find yourself, instead of being in the movie, you're sitting in a seat watching the movie, and you realize that there are all these other people watching the movie as well. And it can be a bit disconcerting because you're starting to see that you're watching this movie and everyone's responding to this movie as if that's all there is. But you're in this theatre and you're like, well, what else is there? I mean, this doesn't seem quite right. And at this point, you may even be, you know, looking at the people in the movie theatre who are also watching this movie, and you're saying, you know, does this feel right to you? You know, what if there's another movie, you know? Can we change this movie? And at that point, the people who are back in 3D are just saying, what are you talking about? You're crazy. You know, they can't even understand that you have stepped a little bit outside of the movie. So that's the first step in 4D. The other thing I really wanted to point out is as we move through 4D, we still have this. We still have the movie as being the cause. We're still feeling the emotions. We're still judging what's going on in the movie. We haven't been able to remove ourselves enough because we're still in the movie theatre and it's still in our face. We just realise we're watching it. But the one thing that does start to change here in 4D is we start to question truth. So, you know, that's a big step. We're starting to think, yeah, there's something else going on here that I don't know about. So the second step in 4D, I'm going to say we're at the back of the theatre. We actually get out of our seat and we realise there are other people up the back of the movie theatre, and they're not watching the movie all the time. You know, they're talking about other stuff. They're sitting at the back of the movie going, where's this movie coming from? You know, who's putting this on? Who's projecting it? And there's a whole lot of people all at the back who are they realise they are watching it. They've left their seats and they're all kind of trying to work it out amongst themselves. So at this point, we're at the back of the theatre. We're still seeing the movie as the cause of our emotions. We're still in the movie theatre. We're still judging everything that happens in the movie theatre. And, you know, we're still questioning the truth here. So that's the second step of 4D. So the third step of 4D, we actually start to try to understand the movie. So we're looking at this movie and we're going, how does this movie work? Can we change the movie? Is there another movie? Are there more movie theatres? I mean, we're trying to understand what on earth is going on. So what starts to happen here after we've been on this path long enough is that we start to understand that actually maybe the movie isn't the cause. And we start to realise that our inner world is the cause. But at this point, it's really only theory. We're really saying, okay, you know, we hear about this law of attraction and all of that sort of stuff, and so we realise that we have some influence over the movie. But at the moment, it's all still theory, and we really don't know how it all works. But the important thing that happens at this point is, even though we're still judging here, we still haven't been able to remove ourselves from the movie totally, but the interesting thing is that we are actually starting to work on our awareness. We're starting to become aware of our inner world because we're understanding that it's projecting this movie onto the screen. So this is what I call the work. This is what we came here to do. In my other video, I talked about how we integrate all of the different aspects and archetypes of being human so that we can choose as opposed to judging. And at this point, this is where we're really doing what you might call personal growth, spiritual growth. But really, at the end of the day, what this means is that we understand we are the cause of the movie, and we realize that the way out is to stop judging the movie. So, you know, judging, we're starting to question this. We're starting to understand that it's our judgments about the movie that keep the movie in place. So yeah, this is a huge step. I mean, this is where most people spend all of their time, is understanding the movie. And I'm going to liken that to being in the projector room. It's like you're in the projector room and you can see there's all these other reels and all these other movies. You can see the movie projector, you just don't know how to change the reel. So that's what you're learning to do here, is change the projection. So then that brings us to 5D. So in 5D, we're basically saying that we are not judging. We have stopped judging the 3D movie. We understand fully that the inner world is the cause, and we are continuing. We don't even have to do the work anymore, because really at this point we've become neutral When you stop judging, you become neutral, divine neutrality, which allows us to actually then choose rather than come from a place of reaction and judgment. So in 5D, we've left the movie theatre. We have left the theatre. I hope you can read my writing. Bit of a scribble, but anyway. So we've left the movie theatre. We realise there are all these other movies. And I think the really interesting thing here is that we realise, let me just rewrite this, is that there are multiple truths. There is not one truth. We understand that every fracture of consciousness, which is a person, has their own version of truth, and all of these versions of truth exist simultaneously. So we can see that everything is in divine and perfect order, exactly as it should be, and we understand that the movie that we're seeing is a perfect reflection of our frequency, which is our inner world. Our feelings, our thoughts, our beliefs attract the movie to us like a magnet, as they do for each other person. And then somehow there's this magical orchestration of all of these movies coming together so that they're matched perfectly to all the different actors' frequencies, which is quite hard to get your head around. But we realize there are multiple truths, there are multiple movies all going on at the same time. And because we're in a place of divine neutrality, we let everyone else's movies take place because we understand that it's a perfect match for who they are, without judgment. And instead we focus on our own movie. So there's a couple of take-home points from this that I really want to focus on, which is one, the only way we can create 5D is by changing our inner world. It's the only way. And I think the thing that you realize when you understand that is that if we think that there's going to be a solar flash or an event that's going to magically take us from 3D to 5D, what we've done is we've stepped back into 3D and we're thinking that the movie is the cause. We're thinking that there is a solar flash in the movie, in the projection on the screen, that's going to change us internally. And it can't work like that, because we know now that the inner world is the cause. So my understanding and my belief is that it works backwards. It's like when you've got your frequency to a level of 5D, then you will be able to observe the 5D movie, which, you know, might be the solar flash or some sort of event, some sort of cosmic or planetary event that we don't know about. But you're only going to be able to be part of that event and have that as your movie when your frequency matches it. So that's why the work is so important. We can't bypass the work. We can't be saying that something's going to happen and just change us, because we have to change us, because we are the ones creating the new earth in 5D. And I believe that we have to do that in our individual lives. We have to make our house, our family, our community 5D in order for the earth to become 5D. So really, the responsibility for creating the 5D earth lies with each of us doing our work and not stepping back into 3D and thinking that someone else is going to do it for us. So I hope that was helpful, and I hope that gives you a different way to look at these dimensions and what we're here to do as humans to help create the new earth. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.